Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of my WIP Parade. This one is going to be significantly shorter than the last one, but contains more of my favorite WIPs. These are the ones that I loved enough to give project bags to, or they were scattered about the house because I've been working on them. It does, however, also contain my Nemesis WIP, so, give a little, take a little. I'll actually start with that. I almost forgot about it. Kept in this box, which is normally right there in my videos, is Stitching George Washington, which I am so far behind on. It's not even funny. I need to actually make some significant progress on this year. So I am panel 103, and this is just a black and white copy, but it's basically Guy's Elbow. My main issue with this is there's 105 colors, and while that might seem like, at least you got a lot of colors to work with, I don't actually appreciate it like you would imagine, because I would love if this were just some block stitching, because it's not actually making up a pretty picture in the whole design. It's just like, it's literally a guy's elbow as he's rowing the boat. So plus it's got a lot of this real ugly green. I don't know if that's showing it very well, like diarrhea green. Anyways, so this is what I have done, which is not, why are you stuck? Just not a ton. So I clearly need to put in some good work on this year. Yeah. Probably should have put this on my WIP Go board, but I didn't, and I don't actually regret that. So that is Stitching George Washington. Then I have two that are in this box. That's normally right. Oops. Directions. Nope. So difficult. Right there. Right there. And these are my two biggest WIPs. And that is Sistine Chapel. This is the fabric. And let's see where I can find stitching on this to not have to. There we go. So here we go. This is actually the first one that was called for WIP Go, so you'll see some progress on this one this year. Let me just get this a little bit back in order. And then the other one that's in this box is hang on. I have the pages for the Sistine Chapel printed out for the section I'm doing. In part because this isn't one I really think I can work on in a PDF. I am working on vignette number 45 in the whole grand Sistine Chapel. And I'm trying to see if I have printed out like a preview of what that looks like. But I don't actually think so. It's only 6 pages, so it's not a big deal, and since this is such a massive project, it's not really giving so much away. There's a lot of block stitching, which I really appreciate. Just to give you some kind of idea how large this pattern is, this vignette is on page 319. So I'm not even sure how big the full thing is, but this is page 319. And it's designed by Joanna Lobanowski Roberts. And it's in the footsteps of Michelangelo. It's the companion volume to the Sistine Chapel in cross stitch. It was copyrighted 2005. Oh, I have the table of contents, and it looks like the vignette I'm stitching is actually the very last one. So they call it a lunette. So whatever. I know that there are mistakes in this pattern, but I'm just going to try to roll with it. And oh, here's a little preview actually. So here's each of these, and this one is 45, the one I'm stitching. So I'm hoping I'll be able to fudge any mistakes I come across and just make it work. Yeah. So maybe I will finish the first lunette this year, since I'm working on it in the first month, which means it will keep coming up in my rotation. Now, the other one that I have in there is this hunking pattern. And this is the World Wonders Illustrated map from Gecko Rouge. I printed this out before there was like Pattern Keeper or anything to read the patterns well. So I printed it out to have a copy to work from, and it's on, I bought Magic Guide, which does their squares in 20 by 20, so I even went through with a pen to mark out the 20 by 20 squares on the parts that I've gotten to. I didn't do it across the whole pattern. Yeah, I didn't do it across the whole pattern. So, oh, in case you're wondering, the stitch count for that, there's 169 DMC colors, and it's 2,198 by 1,121, so it's massive. And I am doing this on 28 count Magic Guide, right? Well, it doesn't actually tell you on this part. Anyways, that's all I've done. So obviously a ton more to do. But I hope to make some progress on it this year. I keep it in the envelope I received it in. I bought it from Lakeside Needleworks. So it was sent to me June of 2018. So apparently that's around when I bought it. But ordering this much fabric from them was, including international shipping, was cheaper than anything I could find in America. With gridded fabric. I could have gotten something ungridded, but I really did not want to be messing with that. Sorry, I'm just putting this away. I did not want to be messing with that with such a ginormous project. I only have one more project that's in a box, but this is my Mill Hill Gloria. And I'm thinking this might be done in January or February. That's what she looks like. And that's where I am on her. So soon we will be getting to the beading portion. You can see by comparison. So she is coming along very nicely, and I am loving working on it. So we should be seeing a finish shortly. Next we have Kringles from Little House Needleworks. And this is one that I started during Flossmas, barely, but it is a start. And that's just a little bit of the roof. So I am glad I started this. I have been wanting to stitch on this since I saw it, I think, in the Nashville needle market thing. Okay. Next we have Serengeti from Chatelaine. This is for my parents. And I thought I wouldn't be working on this until it was called for WIP Go. But then I remembered that I used it for another challenge group where I have to work on this every month. So actually this will be one of the first things I work on in January. So one of the first projects on my rotation. And I will work on that for that. And then I will take this off the scrolls and put on the Paris mandala on here. These are my largest from Almanac. Oops. I'm trying to set these down. And then we have the Baltic mandala from Chatelaine. This one is going to be for my husband and then therefore also for me. His family immigrated from the Baltic region in Germany, which is why I picked that for him. Okay. Next we have a summer ball from Sandy Littlejohns and Deborah Lester. This one reminds me so much of a Pride and Prejudice scene. I am doing this in Anchor. And instead of DMC, because that's what they originally designed it in. And that is all I have done on it. This is a 32 count linen that I don't particularly love. But it's okay for this project because it's full coverage. It does have some back stitching on it and maybe some fraction stitches, which is why I did it on this. I keep this downstairs by my stitching chair with the Anchor floss. Next we have the seasonal celebration that I wasn't able to find when filming the other video, Autumn. And it's probably time this comes off the Q-snap, but here's where I'm at. This one shouldn't take much to finish, to be completely honest. So after this video, I'll just put that away. Okay, now we have everything that are in project bags. So, I will do my other two chatelaines first and then work from there. The first one is London Gardens, which is for my sister Jo. She loves England. Eventually, I really want to get the Royal Tudor mandala and do that for myself. Before she passed away, I was really hoping Martina would do a New York Gardens one, because anytime there's like city things, New York is the one that I gravitate towards. While my sisters get London and Paris. And so I really wanted a New York one for me, but what's out there is all that's out there. So I'm leaning towards the Royal Tudor one for me, because I do love studying about the Tudors and that whole era. I a little bit more prefer War of the Roses, or the time just after, but I do love the Tudor era as well. So, but that kit is like $400 or something. It's so blinged out. It'll be beautiful, but definitely something I have to save up for, or maybe ask it as my next big Christmas present. This is the Paris Gardens mandala for my sister Kirsten. Do I have a preview picture? I know I didn't have a preview picture of London. No, I don't have one of Paris either. This is the first chatelaine I started, and this is the one I started and attempted to kit myself, which is when I learned that that will most likely cost you more than just ordering from European cross stitch design. This is what I have done on it. This whole section is 1/1. It's really beautiful. This one, I'm hoping I'll be able to finish the first part this year, because it was the first one called on my WIP Go, so it should be coming around fairly routinely on my rotation. And my youngest sister, I don't have a chatelaine started for her. However, I do have Dressmaker's Daughter from Mirabilia started for her. When I started these, she was still younger teens, and I just felt like she would develop and change more as she grew up to pick a chatelaine for her then. I wanted her to like settle into herself and her personality to see what she would actually like before investing so much into something like that. So this is why I started that for her, as opposed to a chatelaine. So I definitely need to do more work on this. Okay. We have 3 more of those kind of zipper pouches, so we will see what's in here. I actually don't know what's in most of these. I just know that years ago I loved them the most to put them in here. Okay, looks like this is the Happily Ever After Mystery Club from Frosted Pumpkin. And that's as far as I got. I do really love this. I just need to put some effort into it. My one main issue with Frosted Pumpkin stitch-alongs is that I wish that they would release the border further ahead of time, because I think at the time for this one, and I could be remembering this wrong, so if someone else wants to correct me, but at the time, I believe the border came out with the first part, which came out halfway through the month of January, which didn't really give you a lot of time to stitch that up and get ready for the second clue. And then I just became discouraged because I got further and further behind the club. So that was my issue. But anyways, I love this one. So I definitely, it's not in my WIP Go, but I would love to work on it. Okay, here is the Linen and Threads, mystery sampler that I was actually thinking of last night. And when I was doing the WIP Parade, and I was so confused about why things were looking different than I anticipated. So this is the 2017 one. I'm stitching this with thread pickers, Twilight Dreams. I do not know that I'm actually going to have enough thread, but whatever. So this is what I have done. I'm stitching this 1/1, and I do love how that looks. Oh my gosh, so pretty. I need to work on this some more. Anyways, I really love this one. And finally in this bag, I have Portrait of Veronica. I have been thinking about restarting this one because I love her so much, but I hate my fabric. I've started to add another color in. Let's see. Yeah. Here is what I have done on her. I mean, definitely from a distance, she looks better than up close where you can see how gappy the black thread is, or I don't know, I just don't love this fabric. May go through my stash and see if I have anything I like better. Let me see, what's this call for even? Stitched on 32 count. That is 12.7 by 15.9. I usually prefer 28 count, so I don't know if that actually sizes out most of my fabrics. I don't know. I might check after this video and see. Or maybe I will just persevere. What do you guys think? Should I keep going on this? Should I look for a different fabric? Let me know down below. So getting into the project bags, each of these is going to be a mystery. Okay, this one I should have guessed is the green conversion of red. Green conversion was done by Kelly Dunn at Evergreen Stitcher. She used to post videos, but she hasn't in years. But that's what she looked like. She does some amazing conversions, Kelly. And this is the same fabric, which again, I don't love. But this is her. Next we have this. This is going to be the Around the World Sal. Yep, it is. And I have this as a restart, but I don't love this fabric either. This is like an MGC textile one, I believe, that I'm stitching it on now. The original fabric, was one of the first projects I started. I didn't know about not using tape around your edges, and my fabric got really stained, and there's almost no border at all, like border space. But so this is what it originally was looking like. You had to pick your own colors and everything. And I still really like the colors I picked and how they look together. The only one I might consider changing is the green border color, but maybe even not. And I was beading this as I went, but using a Q-snap, and so my beads just are a little bit of a mess. But like, having seen what this looks like, I do really love it, which is why I restarted it on this fabric, but I don't love this fabric at all, which is why I haven't worked more on it. Sorry, I'm just going to take a moment to look at these two side by side. Like, I think this is definitely not great fabric. And the hearts are looking bigger on this one than they are on this one. So now I'm also wondering if there's going to be a sizing issue. Like, look at, let me try to show them together. These hearts definitely are bigger, right? Or is that in my head? They look bigger to me. But it's supposed to be the same count. I'm thinking this might be that wonky fabric that's never the right way. I don't know. So I may need to restart this one for a third time. But I would really love to put in some time on this. I have the whole pattern in here printed out and everything, so yeah, I might stash dive and look for a better fabric for this. Okay, this one is, look at this pretty bag. I love this one. Sense and Sensibility sampler. Oh, this is one I have two patterns in actually. So I have two Jane Austens in here. Tea with Jane. It looks like this from Pedal Pusher. And here is where I'm at on this one. I really love this one and would love to finish that this year. But it's not on any of my boards, so I don't know if that's going to happen. Next, we have the Sense and Sensibility sampler from Pedal Pusher. And I haven't done a ton on this. It's stitched on some of my favorite fabric, which is 28 count Vintage Country Mocha. And that is what I've done. And I think that those flowers are so pretty. Definitely need to work on this. Maybe I should have like a Jane and June month. Like in June I just work on Jane Austen patterns, but then I will get out of the rotation idea I'm trying to go for. So many ideas, so little time. Next project bag. I made almost all these project bags, by the way. What are you? Okay, from the Stitching Book Club, which I need to go back and get all their other ones to do. But this was their first one, Pride and Prejudice. And I made a very tiny start and need to work more on it. But, yeah. I have honestly, you guys, forgotten I even have most of these WIPs. Which is why I want to do the rotation, because adding a new project at the end of each time through the rotation will be kind of like adding a new start because I've forgotten about so many of these. And so I feel like that would be a great way to kind of reward myself and not fall back in love, but reacquaint myself with some of these projects that I loved at the time I started them. Okay, this one Sharon made me. And in here I have a Heaven and Earth Designs, Minnie, Jane, and the Prisoner of Wool House. And this is the start I have on that. I was working on this with Vicki, and I really haven't worked on it in a couple of years. Next we have, look at this fabric, and I think I'm gonna take a guess that in here I have the seasonal quilt because I was thinking this fabric reminded me of like piecing for a quilt. So yep, it is. So these are the 5 Seasons of Quilts by Ursula Michaels. And the other 2 are over here. I'm pretty sure I only have one started. Or like very little on another one possibly. Anyways, spring quilts. This is what I did on it. And I just think it's so pretty. Definitely need to make time to work more on this. Next is another bag Sharon made for me, and she made this for me when I got engaged to Howard. And it's a really nice large sized bag. And in it, I have the project I intended as a wedding sampler for us, but I have not made progress on it. And that is the Love with a capital L from Papillion. And I wanted to do this in our wedding colors. But I decided to do that capital L in that DMC diamond, I think. Anyways, it's a pain in the butt to work with. So that's all that I have done. I do need to progress some more on this. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. And it is just a pain in the derriere to work with. If you've ever looked at it in the store and wondered, it is a pain. I would prefer working with, what is it called? I bought other kinds of sparkles. I will not be using these. Only the L will be accomplished in this. A friend gave me this, and I probably should have used this instead. So I have the green picked out for sure that I wanted to use, but apparently I couldn't decide what gray I wanted to use. So I bought, ignoring you because you're sparkled, like 3 different shades to try and decide what I liked best. I don't know. I never progressed past that L with this horrible diamond. So I really need to work more on this, and probably also take it off the Q-snap since it's been in there for like 2 years now. We are almost done, guys. Next we have Lady of the Flag. And here is where I am at on this one. I coffee tea dyed this fabric myself. That is what I have done. And I love this one so much. It's on my WIP Go board. I definitely need to work more on it. It's one of those projects I love so much that I don't work on it, which is a really weird thing I do. But if I love something a lot, I tend to not actually work on it. I honestly don't know why. Does anyone else do that? This is going to be class schedule from Armada Designs. And here is where this is. I'm pretty sure this is on my WIP Go board. Would love if I could finish this year. I am doing this as charted without any of the modifications. Okay, here we have this Main Street Sal from Country Cottage Needleworks. And I have completed the first shop and started the second and then done the leaves all the way across the top. And I really love this one, so I definitely need to work on it some more. Not sure why I started it so high up. Don't think I needed to do that. I go back and forth between thinking I'm wasting fabric by putting so much border space, and then wondering why I was trying to save fabric by not just giving it more space. It's weird, I know. Okay, this is Clouds Factory's U.S. Presidents, and I started this one like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I wanted to do one president a month and listen to an autobiography about them. I did not get far along in that, in part because the autobiography I chose for George Washington, I had him finished stitching way quickly into the audiobook. Like, I chose a huge but highly reviewed autobiography. So I'm still trying to work through that book, but here's where I am at. And I do really like this one. I like how each president is a little bit different. Even the color of their clothes or the style of the suit, they aren't like all cookie cutter. So I do really, really like this WIP. Next we have Christmas Quaker 2, which is in for a restart. This is what the pattern looked like. This is what I started it on. which is just this really stiff black Aida that is just too stiff for my liking. I'm doing the motifs in green and the songs in red, which is the opposite of the pattern actually. And then I also have some gold metallic to do like the stars in, I think. And this is the black even weave that I intend on restarting. I've even put where I should restart it, like marked my starting spot. I just need to actually restart it now. The one thing I will say about the Aida is I do like how it's not showing up so much on the camera, but in person it does. This is a blacker black, like it's a dark black, and this has a little bit, especially when next to it, a little bit more of a grayish tinge to the black. And I do love how black this fabric is with those colors popping off. This is A Christmas Carol from Dean Morrissey, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. This is one of my favorites. And I started this extreme cross country on 22 count Hardanger 1/1. And I'm almost done with the black on the top row. I'm debating if I'll just then at that point go in and start filling in the colors and not do it extreme cross country anymore. I feel like it's going to be hard to pick out the ninja stitches. But who knows? I mean, this is the only one I'm kind of stitching this way. So maybe I will just continue with it for another color or two. Stick that in there. That one should also probably come off of the Q-snap. Next we have Celtic Noel. And drink. For Vlogmas, I did finish the motifs down the one side. These ones are cut off by her dress, so they're not undone. They're left incomplete intentionally. I do love this piece. And I put it in this bag that has Noel on it. Next we have one of my other favorite Heaven and Earth designs, and this is probably my favorite project bag. That and the one that Lady of the Flag is in. And so this one is, I only have a black and white picture. Silent Night Lane from Donna Gelsinger. And I've been working on the first page. here is where that is at. So I've been working on doing these parked threads. Oh, 2 more projects and then we are done for this video, and I have a full coverage video to still do, but then we will be done with cross stitch. So this one is my 12 Days of Christmas that I started with the DMC satin. That is just a real pain in the butt to work with. My friend Martha says I should just restart the project. She might be right. This is where I am at on it. And the final cross stitch project to share with you guys is my conversion. Well, it's not my conversion, but it's the conversion I'm doing on Celtic Winter. And this is where I am at on her. So, working on the dress. I put a Game of Thrones needle minder on her that has something about winter, like what the Starks always say, winter is coming. Anyways, so yeah, that concludes the non-full coverage section of my WIP Parade. I will be working on doing the full coverage portion next. So stay tuned, that will be up shortly. So thank you, bye.